Previously on Speaking with Saif.
It was the first time in my life I'd experienced this concept of fear and a fear of failure.
Would you say it was fueled by ego, or even fueled by the kind of direction that society kind of sweeps you along as well?
We're fueled by this concept of 24 hours, and we're constantly stressed and constantly sort of bombarded by, we need to sleep minimum 8 hours, and we need to make sure we're on time for work. We need to make sure we have this plan, and we're constantly in
these social constructs, right?
Yeah, we're constantly stuck in this cycle.
Hey guys, welcome back to Speaking with Saif. Today's episode, I've got a young entrepreneur, someone that's also a podcaster just like myself, and he's someone that I've noticed has very, very similar mindsets to myself. So guys, let me introduce you to HumzaZahoor.
Hi everyone, it's an honor to be on here.
Thank you, Humza. One thing I want us to quickly talk about is your background, because you're a podcaster, and I've noticed when we're hosting, it's very rare that we get an opportunity to talk about ourselves. And I want you to give you this platform just to talk to us about, your kind of background, what you've kind of emerged out from, and what you're looking to do.
Yeah, so my background is I'm quite young. I'm 24 at the moment. I have got 3 active businesses that I'm involved in. I kind of started business when I was very early. And so now I've transitioned into going from failing businesses to now running 3 successful businesses, which was a journey in itself. So the 3 businesses that I actually have at the moment, one is a restaurant, one is a online clothing brand, and one is a marketing agency. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. On top of that, obviously, as mentioned, I have got a podcast of my own where I sit down with kind of entrepreneurs as well, just to kind of learn. Because I think even though I may have 3 businesses, you never stop learning. Mm-hmm. And so it's always great to learn from other people. And that's why I'm also here, because I can learn from you too.
It's really interesting because I was watching some of your podcasts. You've got Behind the Influencer, and you've got Recipe to Success. And you've had a lot of really interesting people. You had the owner of Bank, you had the owner of Lockham, like some really, really big guys out there in their own respective fields and industries. How has it been kind of getting in contact with them and speaking to them? Like, what have you kind of gained from, what would you say you gained from both of them in combination?
Well, luckily, most of my guests that come on to Recipe to Success and Behind the Influencer are people that I already know. Most of the time, they're people that I already have relationships with because of my marketing agency. You never really get those opportunities to just sit down for an hour and have an in-depth conversation about them or just about their journey and things like that. It's actually insightful for myself as well, because whilst I may know those people, I get to learn a whole different side of them, and it brings us even closer than ever before.
It's true, wicked. So you're building on your existing kind of relationships, and you're growing your network of influence from there, which is a really cool way to go about it. So one thing that I've noticed, I mean, you're someone that's still relatively quite young in the game, and you're already working with 3 kind of businesses. And with myself, I come from a more of a creative background and had different kind of experiences with businesses as well. But it's like, sometimes, and I'm sure you kind of go through this similar mentality as well, where you think, why doesn't everyone do what we do? Like, why isn't everyone as driven as us? Why don't everyone, at our ages, why aren't they all interested in similar things? Because there's a lot of success in what we can do and what we're looking to go towards. But growing up, a lot of us end up going to school, going to college, getting a job, and then repeating a cycle for the rest of their lives. And I realized that mindsets are very, very important when it comes to this. So, I mean, tell us a bit about what you think about mindsets and what kind of mindsets that maybe some of us should have to approach different new ventures or challenges or different aspects of our lives.
I think there's so many different mindsets that people should have. But I kind of, if I was to narrow it down, I would start off by saying, the ability to shift your perspective is very, very important. A lot of people, they live their lives in defensive mode. They're very negative. They don't like to see the positives in certain situations. And so they always kind of walk like dragging their feet in anything they do. So, when you have the perspective of being able to look at situations in a positive light, you kind of start to get grateful and you appreciate all the milestones that you achieve. And so that allows you to reach success at a quicker rate and actually do the things that you enjoy, because your mindset has now shifted into positivity only.
Would you say that a huge influence on people thinking negatively is based on, this kind of fear of what other people are going to say about them doing something new or doing something that is unusual or doing something that would probably end up with them failing, or it's like this kind of grip that people have, and it's this expectation that people have of a person, so that, you know, that stops them from actually thinking even positively, let alone even trying to attempt a business. They don't even bother doing that because they still worry about what other people are going to say.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of it does come down to judgment. You know, people kind of fear what other people are going to think, and you know, even when it's not you know, friends or people that around them or people on social media, it might even be their parents in their own homes that they think, you know what, I don't want them to think I'm a failure. So definitely, it comes down to, you know, what other people think and how people will perceive them. And the kind of the idea of, if this doesn't go well, I'm going to be known as a failure. And that's something that you should never really kind of embrace, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I look at failure, and the way I look at failure is the more that I fail, the closer it is that I'll be towards success. Like, I can't be successful without failing a numerous amount of times. That's just the rule.
100%, 100%. You know, honestly, if I told you how many times I failed in business, it's laughable. It really is, and most people would have given up a long time ago. But I just genuinely kind of agree with you. You know, in the sense where literally failure only allows you to become more successful, if anything, because you learn so many things in that process of failing, that you become better than ever, the best version of yourself possible. So definitely, failure is a key part of success. It's an important foundation of success.
I mean, as well, you're someone that, I think one of your first and early businesses was Urban Outfits, and like the way you kind of went about that. I mean, what age were you when you set that up?
I was about 17 when I got involved in clothing. 18 when Urban was launched, and yeah, basically I was 18 years old, still in sixth form at that time.
Okay, I mean, like being 18 years old and starting Urban Outfits and a clothing line as well, you know, there's a huge kind of, it's easy, I'd say, to kind of compare yourself to other people. And a lot of people I've noticed have done this thing where they compare themselves to so many other different things. And sometimes their growth isn't the same as someone else's growth. Sometimes their success is way more than someone else's success. And that can have a huge impact on their mentality as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's another aspect, a key aspect of being able to you know, focus on your mindset is, you know, don't compare yourself to others, because everyone is on their own journey. You know, there's some people that are never going to be successful in their lives, and they should be okay with that. In some regards, you know, it depends on. I think the goal of life is not success; it's happiness. You know, and if you're truly happy, you are successful. But for some individuals, an aspect of happiness is success. So if that is you, which is, you know, very much the case is myself, you know, in those scenarios, you should compare yourself to yourself. You know, be the best version of yourself. Don't look at someone and think, okay, they've got a better life than me, because you don't know their day-to-day problems. There were so many times, Saif, like where I was going through struggles and I had day-to-day struggles and my business was struggling. But from the outside perspective, people thought I was this high roller, when they didn't realize that, you know, there was times where I wasn't taking a penny out of my business. You know, I was struggling to survive personally, but I did it for the longevity of the business. So, you know, it's always the case where people perceive individuals and look at their life and think, okay, they've got it easy. But you just never really know the reality. So never compare yourself. You know, it's good to look at people and look at them as maybe potentially role models or mentors. That's fine. But comparing yourself to someone and thinking, oh, wow, you know, I wish I was them, or, you know, I wish I had their life. You know, I think that's the wrong mindset.
Yeah. I think a huge part of, I would say, yours and even my mindset when it comes to thinking about things like this is a lot of the inspiration. And you mentioned role models, you know, people that I used to, or I still kind of listen to growing up, and I was listening to as well. People like Eric Thomas, people like Gary Vaynerchuk, you know, people that they're very relevant people, because when they talk, I mean, one of the biggest learnings that I took last year from Gary Vee was how he was talking about sacrificing, where people want to stunt and they want to show people, and they have this kind of thing of, I don't want to let people down, I want to show them how big I am, and I want to have the flashy stuff. And by doing that, they can't sacrifice enough for them to actually pursue what success really means deep down for them. Who kind of inspired you to actually have these kind of mindsets?
Yeah, I think I was very similar from a very young age. I used to look up to Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas, and I used to be one of those people that used to come home from school and I would literally research what these people were doing. As I got older and YouTube kind of emerged, it was a game changer for me. I used to literally sit there and watch hours of, motivational speeches or, live talks or even sit down interviews with these people because I wanted to kind of not only see how they've managed to achieve success, but kind of the hidden gems that they're not necessarily talking about, but just the behavior that you can see on camera, and how they carry themselves as individuals. And I think, for me, it was a big thing over the past few years. Definitely, I've been inspired by Gary Vaynerchuk. I think he's someone that has, kind of inspired me to achieve more in my own business. Because he's got a similar business to me. So yeah, I think it's always good. For me, I never shy away from looking at successful people and kind of trying to use their blueprint because they've done it, right? So they've achieved what you're trying to achieve. So if they've already got the blueprint to what you want, why not just try to emulate that? And on top of that, if you look back 30, 40 years ago, if you wanted to sit down with one of the richest people in the world, you would have to pay hundreds of thousands, if not more.
We're getting easy access.
We get easy access. So if you're not utilizing that, I think that's, you're wasting your time. You should really, really, think about it and just think how grateful you should be about the fact that we are in this generation where we have easy access to these people.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's one of those things where we kind of underappreciate and we hugely don't appreciate enough the generation that we actually belong to. The fact that, even in the situation where we're in lockdown, I know in a previous video of yours, you were mentioning this about time, because I personally, and I've said this in so many podcasts already, where we're going through a point where people always complain about having not enough time to pursue something that they really want. And now they have the time and there will be another excuse and another reason to procrastinate on whatever they should be doing.
Yeah, definitely. I've been literally banging on about this since quarantine, is that, we are in a time where it's a golden opportunity for everyone. We have this time where we now have the opportunity to just basically do nothing at home. I understand, and I respect that some people are working from home. And so, they still have set hours that they need to be doing things. But regardless, you've got a lot more time. You're naturally going to be a little bit more bored. In that time, instead of maybe utilizing it to watch Netflix or play PlayStation, why not just sit down and take action on the things that you always say you never do? And that doesn't necessarily mean in business, That could be you want to learn how to cook. That may be you want to learn a new language. That may mean anything, You could just grow your knowledge and grow your mind. And that is, it's literally, I think genuinely we're going to come out of this lockdown phase and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be regretful. They're going to think, wow, this time has gone and I did nothing with it. So please, if you're listening to this, just make the most of the time that we have at the moment.
Exactly. Spend that time, especially we're in the month of Ramadan right now. There's so much that you can gain from just growing and learning, even after reading loads of books during this time. And especially if you're not someone that's usually a reader, go and start reading so many different kind of books, start growing your skill set, your knowledge. Because as much as, Humza mentioned that you can come out of this lockdown and you might regret it, you can also come out of this lockdown and you might be proud of the changes that you've actually experienced and the things that you've now gained during this time, which is another aspect and another different kind of mindset to have as well, which is this kind of growth mindset, I would say.
Exactly, 100%.
Humza, thank you so much for taking your time out to actually join me on my podcast as well. And so guys, if you're tuning into episode 2, this is been an episode with HumzaZahoor, and a young entrepreneur, someone that, as you heard, has amazing, unique, different types of mindsets that he's just shared with us as well. If you want more of this sort of content, then you hit the subscribe button right now. Head over and check out his page as well, and take care.